And why do we put up with it? I asked you about Alex Jones at the top of the 11 o'clock hour. Why do we put up with this? Here's the bit I was telling you about with Boris Johnson. Here's the clip. This is absolute... And Farage is the only other person who uses this phrase with a straight face. He's used it this morning to describe the fact that the FBI, which is run by a man appointed by Donald Trump, has raided Donald Trump's home in Florida because he took lots of documents from the White House that he wasn't allowed to take. There is photographic evidence that he tried to flush some of these documents down actual toilets in the White House. So what do you do if the bloke that you voted for is so obviously corrupt and depraved? Answer, you claim he's the victim of the deep state. What do you do if you are the bloke who's completely corrupt and depraved? Well, I'll show you.
And some people will say, as I leave office, that this is the end of... They will say this is the end of Brexit. They will... Oh, yes. Listen to deathly hush. Deathly hush. And the leader of the opposition and the deep state will prevail in its plot to haul us back into alignment with the EU as a prelude to our eventual return.
That's absolutely appalling, and we should have made a bigger fuss at the time. Why is Brexit going so badly? The deep state, a non-existent, mythical phenomenon designed to excuse Boris Johnson from being Boris Johnson and to excuse Boris Johnson, the chief architect of Brexit, from the failings and failures of Brexit. And it's exactly what Nigel Farage has done this morning with Donald Trump. Donald Trump appointed the director of the FBI, and the FBI are now investigating him to the extent of raiding his home in pursuit of documents that he has taken from the White House. If you're following the January the 6th investigation, the scale of the corruption is absolutely off the page, off the planet. But what do you do if you've hitched yourself to this bandwagon? How do you possibly excuse the fact that the fella you helped sell to the American people is absolutely bent? Answer, you need a new enemy. And that's why the deep state comes in. So the more I talk, the more I think I may not take any calls at all this hour because my dander is high. No, don't worry, I will. But the more I talk, the more I think, actually, the parallels between Trump and Johnson that we've been so reluctant to draw, so ashamed of perhaps on a patriotic level, I think they're very hard to deny now. What's the difference between Boris Johnson blaming the deep state for his own failings and failures and Nigel Farage blaming the deep state for Donald Trump's failings and failures? What's the difference? What's the difference between Johnson and Trump? 03456060973. Now we see their supporters desperate to avoid scrutiny. Nadine Dorries calling it a witch hunt. That's straight out of the Steve Bannon playbook. This is a wonderful opportunity, you might argue, for Boris Johnson to prove that he's absolutely squeaky clean, that he wasn't aware that he was deliberately misleading the House of Commons, except unfortunately the Daily Telegraph, which was paying him $250,000 a year for a column until about 20 minutes ago, the Daily Telegraph says it's found 3 people who were working in Downing Street at the time and who believe that the Prime Minister has misled MPs about what he knew about the lockdown breaking gatherings. Why are we putting up with this when I plan it out like this and I am not using lefty, liberal establishment figures? I'm using the Daily Telegraph, who themselves are speaking to members of the Downing Street staff. And yet there's people still lapping it up and down this country. And Liz Truss is talking almost exclusively to them as she leads the field in the race to be our next Prime Minister.